Anthony Grassi for D3 Ticker here at the NCAA Convention. Happy to sit down for another small college conversation with Tim Sceggel, the Vice President of Athletics at LeTourneau University. Tim, thank you for joining me today.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we'll start with the biggest project going on for you, 120,000 square foot air dome that you guys broke ground on a couple months ago at this point. What's the timeline for that?
Yeah, so we're looking at an opening in the summer of 2026. So when student athletes arrive back on campus in the fall of 26, we're opening doors and they're able to use that facility for all that it's worth. So it's a huge deal for us and we're really excited.
What will the overall impact of that facility be once it's open?
So we look at it's the fourth indoor track facility in the state of Texas, and a real need we think in Division III, but then also in our regional area. So not just for track, but for hosting events, and then we hope nationally too will be an attractive piece as that facility continues to develop and host phenomenal events.
What are the expectations for the facility once it's online?
Yeah, so we want it to be a revenue generating facility. So we hope it's a revenue generator for athletics in particular. So obviously covering its own costs, but then being a revenue generator to support the other operations in our athletic department. We could all use a couple extra dollars in the bank, and so this is one way or one path and avenue that we think we can get there.
What steps are you putting in place to help achieve that goal?
Yeah, so right now we're looking for an assistant AD to run that facility that will also have another full-time assistant under that person. So thanks to the Ticker for posting all of our jobs. We've gotten some good applicants so far and working through those. In an ideal world, that position is in place by July 1. And so that gives them a year to recruit events, to make all of the paperwork and all of those things that we need to have in place for the day the facility opens. So as soon as it opens, we hope we have people coming in, using it, and we're rocking and rolling.
As you think about other projects, what does it mean to have kind of the buy-in across campus?
It's a game changer. And so this idea, actually, I would love to take credit for it, but it predates me. So there was an old, former assistant track coach that when the idea came up, hey, we're a athletic department with a track program without a track on campus, which brings its own challenges that a lot of people face. So it was clear we needed to have a track on campus. And then his idea was, well, what if we just put a dome over that, and how much would that cost? And then we kind of ran with that idea, and then what could you actually put inside that dome? And so right now, the final version of that is we'll have a 200-meter hydraulically banked track in there with seating for 1,200 that can expand to 1,500. And then we'll also put our golf program in there. So we'll have 2 simulation bays for golf, and then we'll have a putting green. And then it's an academic partnership too. And so we're bringing our kinesiology department over there, putting the professors in our kinesiology lab in there. We've partnered really well on campus, and so they've done a lot of VR things to help our student athletes with hitting and pitching. And so now we have this huge lab space that we think will be awesome.
You know, LeTourneau's a very academically oriented institution. I'm curious, what are some of those other ways that you're kind of leaning on the academic side of the house, probably those that are smarter than all of us here at times, to help athletics?
Yeah, so what's been awesome, man, is LeTourneau is a STEM-focused school, so a faith-based school that specializes in the STEM fields. And so about half of our enrollment is engineering majors. And so, for example, we have a women's basketball player on our team right now that has 2 arms and 1 hand. And so with her arm that does not have a hand, we have prosthetics that we're working with our friends in engineering for. So what does that look like to create a prosthetic for her that she's able to lift effectively with our strength and conditioning coach and do some of those kind of things. And so the engineering building is right next to athletics, so it's literally just walking across the street and just brainstorming with some of our buddies over there, and it's created some really cool partnerships for us.
When you talk about kind of the relationships across campus, the relationship you have with your president is obviously the most paramount. How do you kind of foster that relationship?
Yeah, absolute game changer. You know, when I was young and naive, I used to think, man, I'm going to work hard wherever I am. It doesn't matter who I work for. And it absolutely matters who you work for, right? And so I am blessed. We have a phenomenal president that's all in on athletics. And so LeTourneau's always been a phenomenal academic school that integrated their faith at an elite level and kind of had athletics. And so athletics didn't have a lot of strategic direction and had some success here and there, but not a lot of broad-based success. And so as he stepped in, looking at our campus offerings, thought, man, we would love for athletics to be as successful as the institution is academically. And so the opportunity for me to be a VP helps me develop professionally, lets me sit on the cabinet and just learn more about how to effectively run a campus and speak in to athletically related stuff. So we're 23% of the enrollment, which is a number that we're really happy with. But you look at almost a quarter of the enrollment on campus, and that plays a role in campus life and all those pieces. And so having that direct line, that direct connection with the president, who's all in on the faith development side and then the pursuit of excellence that we're trying to do in athletics too, it's just an absolute game changer. So I'm not having to twist his arm and saying, let's build a 8-story, 120,000 square feet facility. He's all in with us and sold for the mission of athletics at LeTourneau, which is a lot of fun for me, obviously, but I think fits the institution really well too.
Yeah, and I imagine it makes your job a little easier at times.
100%.
What does that look like maybe in practice though, having your president be all in?
Yeah, so he is regularly at games. He's texting our coaches when they have big wins. He shows up at practice sometimes. He is looking for ways to continually support just whatever area on campus needs support. But athletics has been maybe not a huge priority on the campus historically. So from a funding perspective, we're a little bit behind. And so, hey, what does that look like to get athletics where they need to be from a funding perspective to just achieve the results on the pitch or the court or the field that we have an expectation at our university, right? And money doesn't solve all your problems, but it helps you take a shot at them, right? And so that's been a game changer for us. And then has our teams over to his house. So cross country just won the conference championship. So he's having the team and the coaches over. He's also supportive of, we created a bonus structure in athletics. So if you win the conference championship, there's a financial award. If you are coach of the year, there's a financial award. If you finish ranked in the top 16 in the country, there's another financial award. And so it's a staggered amount. But when I proposed that, all in, loves it, and that's not something that I've been able to pull off at other places, and so I'm really thrilled that the ideas of how to continue to just support athletics, he's been very supportive of, and we meet about every 2 weeks just to talk through what's going on, and just a listening ear and an insightful ear, just being supportive and encouraging to the things that we're doing. So we're really aligned, which makes a big difference.
Absolutely. One of the big things LeTourneau is going through is a change in conference affiliation.
Yeah.
What steps, what things need to be done, or are you working towards as you transition into the SCAC?
Yeah, man, so we're so thankful to have been in the ASC for the last 27 years, the whole time we've been in Division III. So it was a phenomenal run, and as different things shift, you have to look at what the environment is. And so when I had left, I was at Covenant College previously, and then left and came to the ASC, thought, oh, I'll never have to look at conference realignment again, naive me, right? But we're thrilled for the SCAC. We think it aligns really well with us academically and athletically too. And so to prepare for that, we think we're in a pretty good spot. And so what we've tried to do is some benchmarking, and so taking some trips to other institutions to see what do their facilities look like or what's their staff setup like. And so are we falling short of that, or are we positioned well on that front? And then just having conversations with our CFO of saying, okay, hey, here's where I see that there's some differences for us, and so how can we strategically take a shot at closing some of these gaps to make sure that we're positioning ourselves in a good spot just for the future.
Why was the SCAC the right fit for LeTourneau right now?
Good question, man. So there's a lot of competition in Texas, obviously,
For sure.
and then 2 Arkansas schools, and then Centenary in Shreveport, which is about 45 minutes from us. And so regional competition for us with the fun outlier of Colorado College. And so what Texas kid doesn't want to take a trip up to Colorado and Colorado Springs and have a fun plane ride? And so I think that was an attractive piece of trying to primarily emphasize regional competition. And then we like the academic profile of the SCAC as well. And then we just think the conference provides some stability. So you have 12 teams in there that are committed to doing it the right way. And it's a good number for a healthy conference as we move forward into the future.
You mentioned earlier, as you were talking about the support from your president, of having him basically saying, your president saying yes when you bring forth things. How does that influence, and you mentioned the bonus piece specifically, I'm curious how that and maybe that piece of it and how you think about hiring head coaches right now, and maybe how your approach has shifted over your time as being a director of athletics.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, every place is a little bit different, right? So where I was at before at Covenant, awesome spot, but different than where I'm at LeTourneau, geographically and operationally. And so what I've had to learn at LeTourneau is, man, not everything I did at Covenant works at LeTourneau. And so what do I need to change professionally in the way that I'm approaching things or the way that I'm trying to hire coaches? And so we'll post things everywhere. Obviously, we talked about the ticker being a huge piece of that. Everywhere we can post a job, we'll do it. We want a lot of eyes on it. But then we're also really intentional. And so we think that in some ways we're a unique fit with where we're geographically located, with our mission, with our faith environment. And so we're trying to find a really specific person. And so we'll make lists on the front end and kind of work through our lists as we go down through that. But want to make it an attractive job, right? And so do we have the workplace environment that people are attracted to? Do we have the presidential buy-in? Do we have the facility environment that people are attracted to? Are we updating things? We just built a $1.2 million weight room for our student athletes, which we're really excited about, and our non-athletes can use that as well. But those kind of things, I think, are a really important piece to continue to move forward. And when we have buy-in on campus for that stuff, and then you bring someone in, man, it's an attractive thing. And so the other thing we do is we try to measure our environment as well. So being a faith-based school, there's a survey called Best Christian Workplaces, and they do about 400 Christian organizations. Some Christian colleges use it too. And so the athletic department at LeTourneau has been in the 100th percentile nationally the last 2 years on that survey. And so not that we have it all figured out, but an indication that people are having a good time at work and they're having a good time together. And so that's something that we like to share on the front end, just to say, hey, like, I know you're evaluating this opportunity and it's hard to get a real sense of what's the environment like, but here's one kind of snapshot that shows what it might be like for you to come here. And so we're going to use every tool that we can to attract people. Unfortunately, we're not making people millionaires in Division III, but we'll use everything else we can to try to get the right people for us.
What things are you doing to help create that environment that people want to come to work, and obviously having an actual data point to say as opposed to just the vibe? I imagine makes a little bit of a difference for you. But what steps are you taking? What is to kind of make sure that is the case? Yeah,
so I think it starts with hiring the right people that fit our institution, and then they can work well together. And so I think we've all been in work environments where there's someone who is a lone ranger or just super negative, and that can really impact your culture in a negative way, especially if you have a few of those. And so hiring the right people from the jump makes all the difference in the world. But then you want to cultivate that. And so it's resourcing them to do their jobs. It's paying them what makes sense for their position. Again, not making millionaires, but trying to not compromise on that. And then when you have an air dome or a new weight room, or we're putting up new graphics and couches in the locker room, which don't cost a ton. The second piece of that doesn't cost a ton. First piece costs a lot. I think that's just a way to boost morale. And then we meet once a month. So I call our athletic department the Dream Team. And we want to have so it's a 1992 Michael Jordan best collection of talent in maybe sports history. So we're trying to have the best collection of talent in college athletics at LeTourneau University. So call ourselves the Dream Team. Dream Team meetings once a month. We have food. We have someone present on recruiting or pursuing excellence or faith development. So we're all learning from each other. And then our ladies have a book club where they pick a book a month. And then oftentimes the guys will get together over at my house and you just bring your favorite bourbon. And we're not getting crazy, but just another data point for we're connecting outside of work. And then in the office too, we prioritize prayer. So on Wednesdays, whoever wants to get together can pray together. And so for us, we look at some point, we're going to have a hard conversation. But if we've had some great meetings together, we've shared a drink together, or been in a book study together, we've prayed together, then when we have to sit down and have that hard conversation where maybe we disagree, that's a lot easier conversation to have than if we don't have any of those things in place and it's a more transactional environment.
Is that something you've been implemented the entire time you've been the AD, and how, I guess, working towards that, how has maybe that shifted over your time as an AD?
Yeah, absolutely shifted. I think, when you become an AD, you're just trying to figure out, man, like, how do we hold this thing together, right? And I think, and this is not good, but I think you can lose, or at least for me, I did not prioritize the cohesive unit early on as in my role as an AD. It was more operational effectiveness. And then when we established that operational effectiveness, then I moved to, okay, you know what, I really need to make sure that people are having a good time at work, and I really need to make sure we're cultivating a good environment. Now, thankfully, we already had that for the most part, but I wanted to foster that at a higher level. And so getting to LeTourneau, I think I learned a lot at my last place, and getting to LeTourneau, trying to pair that operational effectiveness also with a phenomenal workplace environment. And so I think we're close. We're not all the way there. We're always trying to get better, but at least we've created something that is attractive to others, and we know that people are having a good time.
You mentioned the niche that LeTourneau sits in. How do you evaluate fit for a coach or an administrator or assistant coach in that unique environment that you guys have?
Yeah, so I'm a nerd. So when I have my next up, I call it my next up list. And so it's an Excel spreadsheet, have a tab for every sport. And our coaches know about it. So I tell when we hire coaches, like I love our men's soccer coach, been coach of the year and set a school record for wins. But I tell them, man, I hope you retire at LeTourneau. You're phenomenal. But we know nationally the odds probably aren't in my favor that he's going to retire at LeTourneau, right? So have a list for men's soccer or whatever sport it is, with names, and then going across that list, we rank it all out. So we have all the categories that we think are important to us, and then we do a red, yellow, green ranking system to say, okay, from a faith fit standpoint, from a mission alignment standpoint, do we think they can win? Do they understand Division III? Do they bring diversity to our athletic department, which is something that we're looking for too? And so, and that list goes on, and so we have about 10 or 12 things. So then if we have some candidates that are close, then we look at the ranking list, and not that it's an exact science, but at least it provides a little bit of a visual picture of, okay, here's the direction that I think we need to go. So when you post jobs and you get a ton of applicants, you're trying to narrow it down. It's been a helpful tool over the years just to, for our senior staff to sit down and kind of work through, okay, here's where we've had success before, how we rank the people, and then here's where we're kind of ranking people now. So past history of success would point towards X applicant potentially being the right fit for us.
Very insightful. Tim, thank you so much for joining me, providing the insights today.
Hey, thanks for your time. This was fun.